What's going on, everybody? Today we're talking about who's stepping down from the South Florida Water Management District at the request of Governor Ron DeSantis, where you can go for free nature walks, and the new test doctors are doing to screen for toxic stress. Thank you for stopping by. Today is Monday, January 28th, Tuesday, January 29th. It's Thursday, January 31st. I'm Jaryd Brady, and this is your Naples Herald Daily Report. In the wake of the recent red tide outbreak here in Southwest Florida, Florida Gulf Coast University is seeking $9 million from the state to study, understand, and hopefully eradicate this problem that's still lingering off our beaches here in Southwest Florida. Hundreds of tons of fish have been washing ashore in Southwest Florida over the past 6 months, and Dr. Michael Parsons, a professor of marine science at Florida Gulf Coast University and director of the Coastal Watershed Institute and Vester Field Station, is one of the many professors at FGCU working to understand what is fueling this red tide that's refusing to dissipate.
You know, we're at ground zero here. It's in our backyard, and we know that we knew we had to get more involved and we're here.
Some of what we're proposing is quite different. It's interdisciplinary. It's looking at red tide in some ways that haven't been examined before.
And it's this lack of knowledge that has led researchers at FGCU to ask the state for $9 million in hopes to understand what makes this red tide outbreak so much different from years before.
It's a big ask, and we recognize that, but the initiative we put together is it's a big initiative. You know, we've got chemists and biologists and ecologists and microbial ecologists and geologists.
It was actually $9.267 million, and so we didn't want to, necessarily pad it to hit that $10 million range, but that was the number for the goal. The 5 areas we set out to propose to study.
If the $9 million grant is approved by the state, researchers at FGCU plan to focus on components such as water nutrients, environmental impact, and ecosystem recovery.
So basically what we wanted to do was look at some of the different factors and different, facets of red tide. How will the system rebound? Is it a resilient system? Will we see the stone crabs come back? Will we see the fishes come back? So on and so forth.
With the $9 million grant, FGCU researchers plan to do more than just study the environmental effects of red tide.
We want to look at the economic impacts. Not only the restaurants and the hotels and rental properties and things like that would be affected, but can we also include the fishing guides? Can we include Uber drivers? What is the real economic impact of this?
Despite the red tide still on our shores, researchers at FGCU say they are more than up for the challenge of finally understanding what makes red tide tick and the effects it has on our community environmentally and economically.
Red tide is still out there right now. It might be a little quiet, but it's come ashore a couple times. People have been affected. It's still there. We're fully capable to do this, and I'm confident, that we will do an excellent job.
The state's been a good partner for us, both in terms of funding over the years and in terms of the collaborations that we've had with many people in different state agencies. It's still going to make water quality much better here in Southwest Florida. It's going to make fisheries better, and it's going to make a better outdoor experience for people that live here and visit here.
Here in the Everglades, there is a problem looming just 3 feet below the surface. The threat of saltwater intrusion as a result of rising sea levels could leave millions of South Floridians without fresh drinking water. Named after Biscayne Bay, the Biscayne Aquifer is made up of highly permeable limestone that stretches 4,000 square miles, providing virtually all of the water that is used by South Florida residents, visitors, and businesses.
Even 1 meter of sea level rise would move the saltwater interface in the Biscayne Aquifer inland quite a distance. It's not exactly known how much, but I would say on the order of a half a mile or something to that effect. And just the volume of ice that's melting down in Greenland would account for about 3 to 5 meters of sea level rise by itself.
Scientists believe that the sea levels will rise 1 meter by 2040, leaving the aquifer's fresh water obsolete. Without this abundant source of fresh water made cheap by its proximity to the surface, many cities could become uninhabitable.
Fire stations are not going to be able to operate. We're going to have stranded buildings out in the surf zone. Who is going to haul those buildings away? I mean, people don't appreciate the significance of this.
The 8 million people rely on the Biscayne Aquifer for water supply. If we look at 2040 as a benchmark, you might lose 10 or 20% of the capacity of the aquifer. By the year 2100, if you look at a projection of 3 meters, maybe that's the least of the problems, because we would lose the areas that people occupy.
The introduction of well pumps and drainage canals in the early 1900s lowered the water levels in the Biscayne aquifer, resulting in the aquifer's first incident with saltwater intrusion.
I mean, people are surprised when I tell them that back in the 30s and 40s we had seawater intrusion into the Biscayne aquifer. Once you reduce that head of all that fresh water that typically goes into the groundwater, the seawater is going to move in. So just over draining that, and they were already using millions and millions, this is in 1930, 1940s, millions of gallons of water per day. And so, I mean, how are you going to give these people water if you've contaminated their drinking water with salts?
With the threat of saltwater intrusion, scientists will have to turn to more costly solutions through desalination plants and reverse osmosis to return the water back to its purified state.
Reverse osmosis would be the primary means of using membranes, removing the salt, and making the water appropriate for human use. We do have a monitoring network that we monitor regularly to look at chlorides, and is the front moving in, is it remaining stable?
All you gotta do is throw money at it. We're gonna end up having reverse osmosis rather than taking our water straight from the groundwater. We're gonna spend a lot of money, and we do already have reverse osmosis plants over here, a couple of them, and it's very costly. So it just depends on whether you want to spend the money now and prepare for something that's going to happen in the future, or just close your eyes and wait until it happens and then react to it.